Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something today that can shift the entire dynamic of your relationship. Women ask me all the time, Steve, what can I say or do to be seen not just as a woman, but as a queen in the eyes of a man? Well, the truth is, it's not about trying too hard, not about playing games, and it sure ain't about lowering your standards. Confidence in your self-worth makes the biggest impression on a man. See, what I've learned over all these years talking to women, coaching couples, and seeing relationships rise and fall is this. If a woman doesn't know her own value, she leaves it up to the world to decide. And let me tell you something, the world is brutal. A man, no matter how good or kind he is, cannot value a woman more than she values herself. You can't expect a man to hand you the crown if you don't carry yourself like royalty in the first place. That crown is already yours. You just have to walk like it. When a woman walks into a room with confidence, not arrogance, not ego, but real confidence, every man in that room feels it. And that energy, that quiet power, speaks louder than words. She doesn't need to flash it. She doesn't need to announce herself. She just is. That's the kind of presence that turns heads. Not because she's trying to impress, but because she's already impressed herself. And that's the key. You got to impress yourself first. You got to wake up, look in the mirror, and like who you see. That's where it starts. Because if you don't see yourself as worthy, you're going to accept less than you deserve. Let me break it down for you like this. A man consents when a woman is unsure about who she is, and the wrong kind of man will take advantage of that. He'll play with your heart, string you along because you haven't set a standard. But when a woman is grounded in her identity, when she knows what she brings to the table, she doesn't ask for validation. She commands respect. She doesn't need someone to complete her. She needs someone who matches her energy, and if he can't meet her there, she's okay walking away. That kind of confidence, that changes the entire game. Now, I'm not saying be hard or cold. I'm saying be solid, be rooted. Know that what you bring, your love, your loyalty, your kindness, your wisdom, your strength, is rare. Know that not every man deserves access to that. And when you walk with that knowledge, when you sit in that truth, a man notices. He might not even be able to explain why, but he feels something different about you. You don't chase, you don't plead, you don't play games, you just are. You become the standard, you become the blueprint. You ever notice how some women, they ain't loud, they ain't flashy, but men respect them? It's because those women know who they are. They speak with intention, they walk with direction. They don't let fear of being alone keep them in situations where they're not being honored. They'd rather be at peace by themselves than in chaos with someone who can't see their worth. And when a man sees that kind of woman, he straightens up. He knows he's not dealing with someone he can play with. He knows that if he doesn't show up right, she'll be gone. Not because she's bitter, not because she's angry, but because she knows her time is valuable and she's not wasting it on someone who can't see her for who she is. That's the kind of confidence I'm talking about. It's not loud, it's not aggressive, it's quiet, it's calm, it's undeniable. And once you step into that kind of self-worth, your whole energy shifts. The right man sees you and immediately knows this one's different. Not just beautiful, not just smart, but strong, whole, grounded. That's what makes a man respect you. That's what makes him rise to meet your level. Not the way you look, not how much you do for him, but how much you value yourself. Because when you respect you, he has no choice but to do the same. The phrase, "I know what I bring to the table and I'm not afraid to eat alone," is not just a clever line. It's a statement of power, of independence, of deep-rooted self-respect. When a woman says that and truly lives it, she's telling the world and every man in it that she is whole by herself, that she is not out here begging for a seat at anyone's table. She is the table. And if someone can't see the value in what she brings, she's not going to shrink to prove it. She's going to keep on walking with her head high and her peace intact. See, most people don't understand the power of solitude. They think being alone means being lonely, but that ain't the case when you know your worth, when you've done the work, when you've healed, when you've taken the time to build yourself emotionally, spiritually, mentally. You don't sit around waiting for someone to come validate you. You're not hungry for attention. You're selective with your time. You don't just invite anyone to your space. You know the difference between company and connection. And that's what this phrase means. It means you're not going to settle just to say you've got someone. You'd rather be by yourself than lose yourself in the wrong relationship. A woman who says this sentence doesn't bluff. She doesn't threaten to leave, she means it. She doesn't need a man to pay her bills, define her worth, or give her identity. She's not looking for someone to fill a void. She's looking for someone who respects the light she already carries. And if that man can't handle the heat of a strong woman, she's not afraid to move on. That kind of energy shifts everything in a relationship, because when a man knows you don't need him but want him, and that your want is based on how he treats you, how he shows up, how he values you, he has to step up or step off. Let me tell you something real. A man can smell insecurity and he can smell confidence. When you walk with your head high, when you're clear on your boundaries, when you say, "I know what I bring to the table," it forces him to examine what he brings. And that's what scares weak men off. They don't want to be evaluated. They don't want to rise. But the right kind of man, the one who's got goals, purpose, respect in his heart, he loves that energy. It inspires him. It challenges him to bring more to the table too. That one line sets the tone. It says, "You're welcome to sit with me, but you better not come empty." It says, "You're welcome to walk beside me, but you better be walking in purpose." It says, "I'm not bitter, I'm better. I've done the work to know that my peace, my joy, and my love are sacred, and I'm not giving them to someone who won't cherish them." You're not saying you're better than him. You're saying you're better than begging. You're not trying to be hard, but you are trying to be wise, because you've been through enough to know the cost of lowering your standards. You've learned that love without respect is not love at all. So when you say that phrase to a man and you don't just say it, but embody it, you're telling him the game has changed. You're no longer playing by rules designed to keep you small. You're no longer compromising on the things that matter. You've tasted peace and you're not giving it up for chaos. You've learned how to sleep better when your soul is quiet, even if your bed is empty. You've learned that loneliness isn't scary when you're surrounded by your own light. And when a man sees that, truly sees that you mean it, he sees you differently. He sees a woman who knows who she is, what she offers, and what she refuses to accept. He doesn't see just a partner, he sees a queen. And queens don't beg for thrones, they build them, they own them, and they invite only the worthy to sit beside them. Speaking with grace and quiet strength commands respect more than confrontation ever will. Let me tell you something that a lot of people miss, especially in relationships. There's a difference between making noise and making impact. You don't have to raise your voice to be heard. You don't have to argue to be understood. When a woman knows who she is, when she's rooted in her worth and her values, she can walk into a room or a relationship and speak with a calm tone, but her presence still shifts the atmosphere. Because it's not in the volume of your voice, it's in the depth of your self-belief. It's not in how much you say, it's in how deeply you believe what you're saying. You see, men don't respond well to yelling, accusations, or emotional explosions. That's just how we're wired. When you come at a man with confrontation, his natural response is defense. He'll shut down, walk away, or fight back. But when you approach him with poise, with control, with that I don't need to fight for my respect kind of energy, he feels that. He listens, and more than that, he starts to see you in a different light, not as someone trying to win an argument, but as someone who knows her value and refuses to lower her energy to chaos. A woman who speaks with quiet strength doesn't have to repeat herself a dozen times. She says what she means, and then she stands on it. She sets the boundary and lets her actions follow her words. She doesn't go back and forth. She doesn't plead. She doesn't chase. And that silence, that calm, that confidence is powerful. You know why? Because it tells a man, I'm not trying to convince you. I'm informing you. And when a woman informs a man of her standards, not out of anger, but out of clarity, he hears it louder than any shouting match ever could. Grace isn't weakness, it's power under control. It's the ability to express truth without tearing someone down. It's the wisdom to say what needs to be said without losing your dignity in the process. That's what makes a man respect you. Because let me tell you, anyone can scream when they're hurt. Anyone can throw blame, but it takes real strength to stay grounded, to stay poised, and still deliver truth in a way that cuts through the noise and hits the soul. Think about the strongest women you've ever seen, the ones who walk in the room and don't say much, but everyone pays attention, the ones who don't need to threaten because their energy already sets the tone. That's not by accident. That's a result of doing the work, of healing, of knowing your triggers, of deciding that your peace matters more than being right. When you master that, you don't engage in every argument. You don't match low energy with more low energy. You raise the standard just by being who you are. And when a man sees that you don't crumble under pressure, when he sees that you can hold a difficult conversation without losing your temper, he starts seeing you as someone he can build with, someone he can trust, someone who brings stability, not storms. And let me tell you, real men crave peace, not perfection, not silence, but peace. And a woman who knows how to communicate her needs without chaos, she becomes priceless in a man's eyes, not because she's passive, but because she's powerful in a way that's rare. You don't need to be louder to be respected. You need to be consistent, clear, and composed. The real magic is in your ability to say, this is who I am, this is what I need, and this is what I won't accept. Without raising your voice, without threatening to leave, without falling apart, that level of control that calm fire, that's what makes a man stop in his tracks. Because now he's not looking at a woman who just wants attention. He's looking at a woman who demands honor without even asking for it. A queen doesn't beg for love. She walks in knowing she's already enough. Now listen to me when I say this. One of the most powerful things a woman can do is recognize that she doesn't have to earn love by bending, breaking, or begging. You were born enough. You don't need to shrink to be chosen. You don't need to overgive to be kept. When you understand that you are already worthy, already valuable, already whole, everything changes. How you speak, how you walk, how you let people treat you. And the moment a man sees that in you, he starts seeing you not just as someone to date, but someone to respect and protect. See, we've been told a lie. We've been told that we need to do more, be more, give more just to be seen. But that's not the truth. The truth is, real love doesn't come to those who hustle for it. It comes to those who honor themselves enough not to chase it. You don't have to convince anyone of your worth when you know it. That knowing, it changes your posture, it changes your energy, and men feel that. They don't always understand it, but they respect it. Because when you walk in like you're enough, you don't tolerate being treated like you're not. Begging for love never works. Giving all of yourself to someone who gives you half in return, that's not noble, that's self-neglect. And let me tell you something, a man knows when he can walk over you. He knows when you'll stay no matter how little he gives. But he also knows when he's dealing with a woman who's not afraid to leave if her love isn't matched. That woman, the one who loves herself deeply, is the one who commands respect without ever raising her voice. She doesn't argue for attention. She doesn't demand to be treated right. She expects it, and she leaves when she doesn't get it. You want to be seen like a queen? Start acting like one. Queens don't chase approval. They don't settle for breadcrumbs. They don't allow disrespect in exchange for companionship. A queen sets the tone. She doesn't force someone to see her light. She simply refuses to dim it. And when a man encounters that level of strength, it makes him think twice. Either he steps up and treats her the way she deserves, or he steps aside. And if he steps aside, she doesn't fall apart. She understands that rejection is just redirection, and she keeps walking. Now, I know it can be hard. I know you've probably been through a lot. You've loved deeply. You've given your all, and maybe you've been taken for granted. Maybe you've had someone look you in the eyes and still not value what you bring. But none of that means you're not enough. Their inability to see your worth says more about them than it ever could about you. Let it teach you. Because once you realize that love should never require you to lose yourself, you'll never go back to begging for crumbs again. A man may not say it out loud, but he watches how you treat yourself. If you're always compromising your needs, always accepting less, always staying quiet when you're hurting, he starts to believe that's what you're okay with. But when you honor your boundaries, when you speak up with confidence, when you say, I love you, but I love me too, that's when everything changes. That's when he sees he can't play with your heart. That's when he starts to see you not just as a woman, but as a queen. So understand this, love doesn't start with someone else choosing you. It starts with you choosing you. When you show up full, when you know you're already enough, you stop looking for someone to complete you. You look for someone who complements you. Someone who matches your energy, your values, your vision. And if they don't, You walk away with grace, not bitterness, because a queen never begs. She simply keeps walking until she's met by someone who sees the crown she's always worn. Your standards shape how others treat you. Set them high and clear. Now, I need you to really hear this. The way people treat you is often a reflection of what you allow, of what you settle for, of what you make excuses for. See, everybody talks about wanting respect, wanting love, wanting commitment. But too often, we accept the opposite. We accept being overlooked, being disrespected, being put last. And then we wonder why we don't feel valued. The answer lies in the standard you set. If you don't have one, or if you don't enforce the one you have, you're telling people it's okay to treat you any kind of way. A man will treat you according to the boundaries you hold, not the ones you talk about, not the ones you think about, but the ones you actually enforce. Because talk is cheap. You can tell a man, I won't accept less, but if you stay when he gives you less, your actions cancel your words. He hears you, but he watches you more. And if what he sees doesn't match what you say, he'll believe what he sees. That's why your standard can't just be words. It has to be backed by action. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow, and more importantly, by what you walk away from. Now, I know this can be tough, especially when emotions are involved. You love someone, you see potential, you want to give them time to grow, and that's fine, but you don't lower your standard while they're figuring it out. You don't put yourself on the clearance rack just because they haven't figured out your value. When you drop your standards for someone, you don't pull them up. You bring yourself down. And once you go down, it's hard to climb back up without resentment, pain, or regret. A strong woman understands that her standard is not a wall. It's a filter. It doesn't block love. It protects it. It doesn't push people away. It separates the real from the fake. If a man walks away because of your standard, let him go. He was never going to respect you anyway. A man who is serious, who's ready, who wants to build with you, will rise to meet your standard. He won't argue with it. He won't resent it. He'll recognize it as a sign of your worth, your wisdom, and your self-respect. You know what happens when a woman sets a high standard? She stops entertaining confusion. She stops wasting time on mixed signals and empty promises. She stops giving her heart to men who only want access, not responsibility. She becomes unavailable to anything less than what aligns with her values. And let me tell you something. The right man sees that and doesn't run. He respects it. He sees a woman who knows her worth and isn't afraid to walk alone if she can't walk in peace. Now, I ain't saying you need to be perfect. I'm saying you need to be clear. Clear about what you want, clear about what you need, clear about what you will and will not accept, because clarity creates peace and peace creates power. You should never have to lose your voice to keep a man. You should never have to accept silence in place of communication, disrespect in place of love, or convenience in place of commitment. You weren't made to settle. You were made to set the tone. So every time you lower your standard to keep someone, remind yourself you're teaching them how to treat you. And the longer you accept less, the harder it becomes to demand more. But when you stand firm, when you say, this is what I deserve, and you live by it, the game changes. Not just in love, but in every area of your life. Because the world responds differently to a woman who knows what she wants and refuses to accept less. That's not being difficult. That's being a queen. The right man will rise to meet your energy when you lead with self-respect. That's a truth most people overlook. A lot of women spend time trying to change a man, trying to convince him to act right, to love right, to step up. But you can't force a man to rise, you inspire him to rise. And the way you do that is by standing firm in your standards, your values, and your self-respect. When you carry yourself with that kind of confidence that I don't need you to complete me, energy, the right man will notice and he'll either step up or step out. See, a man watches everything. He sees how you treat yourself. He notices whether you let him cross lines or if you hold firm on your boundaries. He pays attention to how you carry yourself when he doesn't give you what you need. And when you lead with self-respect, when you don't tolerate emotional games or halfway love, it sends a message. I know who I am, and I'm not afraid to walk away if I'm not being treated accordingly. That's not cold. That's clarity. That's strength. And real men, they feel that. They admire it. It challenges them to come correct. Let me make one thing clear. A man doesn't grow because you nag him or pressure him. He grows when he sees something in you that reflects what he could be. When he looks at you and thinks, I don't want to lose her, not because you're threatening to leave, but because your presence demands that he level up. And that kind of woman doesn't chase. She doesn't beg. She doesn't settle. She becomes the mirror that shows him who he is and what he needs to become if he wants to stay in her life. And it's not just about talking right, it's about living it. You can't say you love yourself and keep going back to someone who disrespects you. You can't preach about your standards and then lower them the moment you feel lonely. That's not consistency, that's confusion. And confused energy doesn't inspire growth. It only creates cycles. But when you are consistent in your self-respect, when your actions match your words, you don't have to keep explaining yourself. A man will either match your energy or remove himself from the equation. And if he removes himself, trust me, that's not a loss. That's a win. That's space being cleared for the right one to step in. There are women out here giving everything they've got to men who aren't even giving half. And it's because they think love is about proving themselves. But let me tell you, you don't prove your worth by overextending yourself. You show your worth by setting limits. And the man who's meant for you won't be intimidated by your strength. He won't be scared off by your independence. He won't try to shrink you to feel bigger. No. He'll recognize that being with a woman who respects herself is a blessing, not a burden. You got to understand that your energy is powerful. It teaches people how to love you. If you walk in knowing your peace is valuable, your love is rare, and your heart is not for everyone, that energy alone will filter out the ones who aren't ready. You won't even have to say much. Your vibe, your presence, the way you carry yourself, that alone will make the right man say, let me rise, because she's worth it. So stop watering yourself down to make people comfortable. Stop dimming your light, hoping they'll stay. Let them rise or let them go. Either way, you're not losing, you're growing. And the man who's meant for you, he won't need convincing. He'll see the way you treat yourself, and he'll know he has to bring his best. Not because you told him to, but because he knows he's in the presence of a woman who knows who she is. And when you walk in that kind of self-respect, you don't just get attention, you get devotion.